All right, Matt. Today is just you and me, and we're going to take a minute just to talk about, some of the things coming up in 2016 and what business looks like, and what some of the opportunities look like. And I figure, hey, why don't we just record this and let people hear about what we talk about? Heck, people always asking what you do and what's going on and what the forecast is. So let me tell people a little bit about who you are.
Okay.
You are Matt Thornton, president, and correct me if I'm wrong. You're the president of Thornton Partners Incorporated and an independent business owner of the Entrepreneur Source. You're a transition and business coach that makes a positive difference in the lives of individuals in career transitions. I think that like, I got that off like something you sent me some time ago. But in a nutshell, you provide education and discovery for people wanting to take control of their destiny. You have 40 years of experience and if I miss them, please let me know, fill in. You have 40 years of experience in manufacturing, human resources, marketing, sales leadership, and a slew of other things. I think you graduated from Indiana State University in business management, and you've done some career education stuff, and you like hanging out with veterans, and you love living in South Carolina, and I don't know if you like cold weather or not, but it gets cold here at night. Is there anything that I missed, Matt, that folks would like to know about you?
Now that pretty well covers it, Dan.
I tell you, don't do too bad in my age there. As a matter of fact, I was looking in the Skype thing the other day, and I said, "My gosh, I got a gray hair."
Well,
But check
it
this
is.
out, Matt. Let me fire some questions at you. Let's just have this discussion, because I really want to understand. And for me, working with people like you, I just really want to get a good understanding about what it is you do, because I see, I've got friends that have started, everything from blimpies to, advanced autos or whatever. And this franchising thing just seems like it's a big boom. So let's just start out by tell me what the heck is a transition coach, a transition and business coach, because I think I have an understanding of what it is. But can you tell me, what your definition of what it is you do as a transition and business coach?
Yeah, I sure can, Dan. As a coach, what I give people options instead of opinions. I let people figure out what they want to do with their lives, how they want to take control of their destiny, and by far the number one issue that people have that are interested in looking at entrepreneurship is taking control of their destiny. That really is a reason to become an entrepreneur, as you know. So I like to say that I'm in the destiny control business. You've got climate control, you've got pest control, and I'm in the destiny control business. I help people that are interested in taking control of their destiny.
Okay.
And so as a coach, I help them through an education and discovery process to determine if entrepreneurship is right for them, and then help them figure out the what. What is a good business for them to go into?
Okay. So Matt, would you say that you're a mentor, or would you say you're, because I think sometimes we get those definitions mixed up, a mentor and a coach. Well,
Yeah.
can you clarify that a little bit for me?
Yeah. At times I'm both. A coach is someone that helps you see things that you can't see on your own.
Okay.
And a prime example of that is everybody has core strengths. We all have core strengths, but a lot of people don't know really what those are. And so as a coach, I help people understand what their core strengths are so that they can use those in any career that they want to be in, especially in entrepreneurship. But if whatever you're doing in life, if it taps into your core strengths, your chances for success are going to be so much better because you're going to be good at it.
Right.
You're going to be naturally good at it. So that's what I do as a coach. From a mentorship standpoint, I do, help people through situations that I know about by experience, and that's really what a mentor does. Is that they transfer their experiences and knowledge to other people. We're in a knowledge-based economy, Dan, and you know that, and so if I can help someone by just sharing a bit of knowledge that I have through my years of experience, then yes, I do mentor a good bit.
Okay. Now, I know that from our discussions, you do a lot of work with veterans.
Yes.
Now, let me get this correct, because I'm a veteran myself. Now, I'm not active duty. I'm just one of those guys that just sit around, and I like to go get the free meal once a year.
Yeah. Right.
What types of veterans do you work with? I think you said that you work with transitioning veterans, or is it active duty veterans, disabled veterans? Who do you work with?
Yeah, and thank you for your service, Dan. So I work with primarily, because when you say transition, veterans in transition, that can mean a lot of things. Generally, what I've been able to do is work with transitioning soldiers at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina. I get an opportunity to help them determine if entrepreneurship is the right track for them, because the Department of Defense has included entrepreneurship now in as one of the career tracks, which is a great thing. So I'm a resource partner at Fort Jackson and help educate these soldiers so that they can determine if that is a good career path for them. But I also work with veterans that may have been out of the service for a few years and realize that going to work for somebody else is not what they want to do. So it kind of runs the gamut. I'm working with a colonel in Kurdistan right now, so I work worldwide and help soldiers and airmen and all military branches actually.
Okay, it's got to be fulfilling, because a lot of folks on when we're on active duty, I can remember when I was on active duty, just coming out, and we go through these transitioning programs, and I never heard of anybody who said, hey, you can go into business for yourself. So it's kind of unique that you have a service like that. I just had never heard of anything like that. And people that I do know that are on active duty, after I met you, I just never, they had never heard of those types of services. So very, very interesting. So let me ask you this question. I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I've been working on my own for, let's just say, a long time. I'm not going to say how many decades. As an entrepreneur, there's so many resources that are pushed down our throats. People say, hey, go to this, go to that, go here, go there. And of course, everyone knows from the government's perspective, there's a Small Business Administration. Do you work with the Small Business Administration at all, or is there an alignment there, or how does that work into the factor, with the types of things that you do, like you said, as a resource partner with the veterans and things, veterans come out, they want to be entrepreneurs, and they're looking for places to go, do you work with the SBA? Does that factor in somehow? I mean, can you clarify that for me a little bit?
Yeah, I can. A military term that I like to use for what I do is all source intelligence. Okay, and I am a compliment, I guess you could say, to the SBA. The SBA has really stepped up and worked with the Department of Defense in some education programs for entrepreneurship with veterans, and so I look at myself as really a compliment to that, in that a lot of veterans, they know they want to look at entrepreneurship as an option, but they're just not sure what they want to do. And so that's where I come in, is help them figure out the what.
Okay.
Once they figure that out, then there are some SBA programs that can help them with doing things like business plans, and obviously funding is a huge part of starting a business, and the SBA is a partner from a standpoint of they back loans. They don't actually loan money, but they back loans for a bank. And so there are some SBA approved loans that are very friendly to veterans, and it's a big part of what I do is help my clients with the funding options that even some people in the SBA don't even know about. So I look at myself as really a compliment to their efforts.
Okay, that's awesome. That's good to know. Because like I said, there's like I know there's for budding entrepreneurs or people trying to go into small business, you have organizations like SCORE and this, that, and the other, but once again, you have to go to them with a business plan. You have to go to this organization with a business plan. You have to have all your stuff together. You as a franchising coach, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, you pretty much know what these franchises want and how to put the packages together. So for the most part, an entrepreneur that's interested in, having a Chick-fil-A or anything like that, they come to you and pretty much you can walk them right through that process like there's no tomorrow. Whereas if I tried to go another route and do it on my own, I might miss a lot of key steps and not know who to connect to, when it comes to trying to get, a franchise license or understanding the ropes or trying to get into that type of business, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. Following up on that, I know you stated that you like to focus on veterans. Do you work for anyone else other than veterans? I mean, is there an age limit? Is there a type of, gender? I don't know. Do you provide services for others that are not veterans?
Yeah, I do. I work with civilians also. Pretty much anybody in transition. So that's the key. If someone's in transition and wants to explore what entrepreneurship would look like for them, I can help. Okay. So it just right now, it's estimated that there's going to be 1 million veterans transitioning out of the military in the next 5 years. I mean, that's a lot. And so, if you've been in, as you know, Dan, if you've been in the military for 20 plus years, it's a scary thought to, what you're going to do when you get out. And a lot of these folks do not want to take orders anymore. They want to start giving some orders. And so it really can be a great fit. There's some numbers out there that prove that veterans make great entrepreneurs. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs in this country, especially franchisees, are veterans. And so those numbers do bear that out, that there are a lot of things the military has provided and prepared veterans for business ownership quite well. But there again, civilians, people that have had, worked in businesses, in sales, that type of thing. That again, there are a lot of skills there that can be matched.
Okay. Well, I didn't do 20 years, but I can tell you, even if you do a year, 5, 10 years, getting out is just scary, period. Because, you're used to getting up every day at the same time, and having your stuff together. And with military folks, I love the what you said about how they make great leaders, and we hear it all the time. Young people, they go in and they learn a lot of great skills, and the best skills I think they come out with that are great for leadership is good order and discipline. They're going to be at work on time. They know they're going to have to cross their T's and dot their I's. Attention to detail. They have to be meticulous. All these skills will carry over into being great leaders and owning their own types of businesses. So let me ask you this. No, go ahead.
When you talk about skill sets, Dan, you're absolutely right. Leadership, management, teamwork, patience. These skills, critical thinking. I mean, critical thinking is what the military teaches an individual, and you'd be shocked how many Americans don't know how to do that. They think they do, but they've never actually had to do it. And so these are universal skills. They work anywhere. And what I try to tell veterans is that don't think about the end result, because the end result is going to be different, but use the same process to get there. You're just going to have a different result, but those skills are universal, and they work anywhere, and that's why those numbers prove that out. Just real quick, Dan, 6% of the population has ever worn the uniform, okay? And yet 14% of all business owners are veterans. I mean, those numbers are huge. 6% of the population, 14% of business owners. So there's something going on there.
Yeah, I would have never thought that. That's something to bake your noodle.
Yep.
So let's let me follow up to this. Okay, 6%, 14%. What's the average age? Okay, because a lot of folks that go into the military, go in right after high school, or they get some college under their belt and they go in as as officers, whatever. So a lot of folks they might not retire. They might go in and see opportunities outside, whatever. Do you see that? Do you have number one? Do you have an age requirement for people to work with you when they're coming out of the military? Do they have to be over 25, over 30? Or does that even matter? Because I'm not sure what the average age is, and that would be the part two to this question is, what's the average age of a person that tries to go into a franchising, opportunity?
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's switch to civilians for a minute. Most of the civilians I work with are in their 50s. So they've been downsized, and that they have not been able to find a career to match the one they were in, and so they decide to look at entrepreneurship to reach their income, lifestyle, wealth, and equity goals for the next 10 plus years to make it to retirement. So, which was my case. But when we look at veterans, if you've been in 20 years, you're in your early 40s, right? Early to mid 40s. If you went in when you were 18, which a lot of people do, and so you've got 20 plus years of good productivity that you can can utilize. You get TRICARE for life. You have a military pension, and so it really puts you in a great position to have a business and create the especially lifestyle that you want. So that's another category, and then you have those that have been in, let's say, under 10 years. So these are folks late 20s, early 30s, and I would say 10 years ago, those types of people wouldn't even think about having their own business. But today, a lot of younger people get it. They realize that, again, back to destiny. If you really want to control your destiny and build wealth and retirement, entrepreneurship is the way to do that. And so I work with more clients today under the age of 30 than I ever imagined I would, because they truly understand what's at stake and the impact that they can have on their retirement by taking control of their own destiny.
Cool. So you got people coming in, somebody knocks on your door, and somebody knocks on you and says, "Hey, man, I'm thinking about going into a franchising business. I don't want to build these big, juicy business plans, and because a lot of the entrepreneurs I talk to, man, it's the same old story. They knock on the door. They've got to build a business plan to go get seed capital, venture capital, Series A, Series B, you name it. And most of them, 99% of them, just can't get off the ground. Whereas services like yours, because most people, think about it. I mean, we work, we go to school, we do all this stuff, but you can't. No one really prepares you to build a business plan, right? Yeah. With all the numbers and the marketing and strategies and everything else. And then once you get it done, doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. You just have this nice plan. You still got to go get funding from somewhere. And first place we go is where? The bank. The bank knows nothing about your business. So what I'm hearing from you, and this is what intrigues me about what you do, is say I'm sitting on, I've got some capital, a little bit in my savings, and I'm thinking about taking control of my future. Instead of sitting down for a couple of months trying to plan this thing out and taking control of my own destiny my own way, why not build upon something that's already been put in place and work with a person like you to get in those doors? Then that way I lessen the probability of me not making it, and I increase the probability significantly for success, because for the most part, you're going to walk me through the process, and once I qualify and get in that process, boom, everything's already planned out, the structure's already there. All I got to do is just follow the dots or the yellow brick road to success. So I knock on your door. Let's go back. I knock on your door. How do people prepare to take advantage of your service? I mean, how would a person prepare to take advantage of the services you provide?
Well, I think the main thing, Dan, is for someone that I work with is that they've got to have an open mind. I hear a lot of things. People come to me and they say, well, I already know what I want to do, and I'm like, okay, great. What is that? I want to open a Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. I can ask one question that will generally make a huge difference to them, and that question is, if you had a preference of working 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, or nights and weekends, what would you prefer? So there's no wrong answer, right?
Right.
There's no wrong answer to that question. And so if someone says they prefer 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, then they need to take the words retail and food and completely wipe them out of their vocabulary. Because that's when those businesses are busy, right?
Right.
So what I asked them is, okay, let's do a scenario. 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. You get a phone call. I'm sick. I can't make donuts today. Who's going to go in and make donuts? The owner, right? And then they immediately say, and this is actual, I've actually had people say to me, well, I don't want to do that. I said, okay, then let's talk. Let's talk about what you really want in a business. What kind of income do you want? What kind of lifestyle do you want? How much money would you like to make? How much, in other words, building wealth and equity. Equity is something a business can give you. Okay, we thought houses could give us that. Not anymore. All right, so the key to the success of my process is focusing on the individual first. That's the most important thing. If you focus on that individual, on exactly what their criteria is for business ownership, then it's very simple to go find business models that meet that criteria. And it's probably going to be a business that individual has never thought of. And that's what makes what I do as a coach a lot of fun, is that I open people's minds to businesses that they would never have even thought of or considered on their own. Because when you mention the word franchise, what's the first thing most people think of? Food, right?
I think of McDonald's.
Yeah. Okay? Well, there's 4,000 franchises out there, and only about 30% of them are food models. So there's a lot of franchises out there, a lot of business opportunities out there, a lot of resale businesses. So these are businesses that are currently in operation. That may be a better route for someone. Okay. But it's all up to the individual. And so people ask me all the time, well, all right, so what are the hottest franchises for veterans? And I answer it very simply. It depends. It depends on the individual, because what might be right for one might be horrible for another.
I get you.
And I've got hundreds of examples of how the system works, but the individual must have an open mind.
So you pretty much have to sit down with them, and you go through some exercises with people to try to get a better understanding, and based on those exercises, you have the resources via the entrepreneur source, right, to help navigate a person through the process before you even get to the selection of the franchises that they would probably be best suited for, like a better term, right? So let me ask you this: can you tell me what types of franchises you have access to?
All kinds.
Yeah. Okay.
The thing is, Dan, my expertise is knowing what's working.
Okay.
Okay. There are a lot of businesses out there that aren't working, right? And so there are certain criteria that I use for types of businesses. Okay, businesses that aren't affected by the economy. By technology, by legislation, okay? It's all about sustainability.
Gotcha.
Okay? And what I see for some of my veteran clients is simplicity. Because the military has consumed their lives for, could be up to 25, even 30 years. And so lifestyle really plays a key part of that. In fact, it can trump income. I can give you great examples of a client actually in Lexington, South Carolina, and he got to coach his youngest son's baseball team this summer and basketball team this fall. And it's because he has a business that allows him the flexibility of his schedule to do that. And he would have never been able to do that in the Army, okay? Right. And he would never be able to do that if he worked for somebody else. So it's a very simple business, but it is a vehicle to get him what he wants in life. It's going to give him the income. It's going to give him the lifestyle. He needs to build more retirement. And at the end of the day, when he gets ready to sell that business, it has equity. And he can, that is part of his retirement package, is selling that successful business.
Okay. Well, man, you pretty much answered all the things that I had on the top of my head. I mean, this has been a very informative discussion because, like I said, I've talked to you on several occasions, and just having a better idea of how all this works, you definitely clarified that. And I'm glad we decided to tape this because we were always talking. I said, let's just tape us talking and let's put it on the internet. That way, when people say, hey, what does that guy Matt do? I'm going to say, look here, just go on the internet, listen to him and I talking about it because I really wanted some clarification myself. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me about this, Matt, because I know a lot of folks that are, that are active duty military that are, coming upon that the next couple of years, getting ready to get out. And heck, I know a few folks that are just, entrepreneurs that just want to get into different things. The tech industry, they made a boatload of money in the tech industry. They did this, they did that, whatever, and they want to do something different. In the 20s, this was fine, but in your 30s, now you want to go and do this, and, in your 50s, you want to do this. So this has just been excellent, great information, especially, the differences between your process and, the process of just being an entrepreneur, trying to look through all these sources, understanding that, you know, how you work with veterans as a resource partner, you know, your concentration, you know, that you have all this access to these different business models, and that there are actual tools that are used to help people facilitate through this thing. Because like you said, a lot of the veterans have critical thinking skills that a lot of folks don't get by not going through the military. So this is, like I said, this has just been a very, very, very informative discussion, and I'm looking forward to the next time we sit down and talk. Maybe we can do it in person. You know, we're always on the phone or something like that. But, you know, it's a beautiful day here, man. As you can see, it's nice and bright on my end. So it's beautiful and 45 out.
That's great. Yeah, in January, that's great.
Well, Matt, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you later. But is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I appreciate the conversation. I think, if someone's interested in just learning and exploring, by the way, there is no cost or obligation for working with me. And I can explain that to individually, but it technically is especially to veterans. There's no cost for working with me, and tap into my expertise and my knowledge, and see if it's the career path that you want to go down.
Man, that's awesome. I guess. Oh, and before we get off, just in case, I don't know where someone might view this thing at, if they look at it in one source or another. I guess we let people know that Matt can be found at www.mattthornton.com. That's Thornton, THORNTON.com, and all your contact information is provided there. All right, Matt. Well, you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later, bud.
Thank you, Dan. You too.
Bye-bye.